What's up, it's Rowan here from Art of Smart Education. You might have just received your end of year 11 report and been maybe quite disappointed with some of the results that you achieved in that report. And that might also be impacting then on your confidence and your stress and anxiety levels as you're in the year 12 first term right now with assessments not far away. So in this video, I want to share with you how you can actually interpret your year 11 reports and make sense of what it actually means for you, identify whether or not you're doing as well or as poorly as you think you are, and then on top of that, work out what that means for you for year 12 and what you need to do for your upcoming assessment. So in this case here, we've got a mark of 79 out of 100, which on the face of it might not be that great. You might be aiming for a band 6, right, 90% plus, and so there's obviously a gap here. This is a band 4 result, so you might get this result and be quite disappointed, right? Now, is this actually a great result or not so great result? Well, that's what we've got to try to understand. And the first thing we can look at here is the rank. Okay, so ultimately the marks themselves as we go into year 12 are not really all that important. It is the rank. Your rank will be the critical factor that is used to moderate your internal mark based on how you and your cohort perform in the external exam. So in other words, in plain English, your internal mark will change a lot based on your rank. So therefore, what we need to look at here is what your rank is, because we're going to use that in a moment to get some insight. So in this case, 20th, right, indicates, well, actually the rank, there's a big cohort, 128, rank of 20 actually looks pretty strong, even though the assessment result was a band 4. The second thing we can look at, if your scores provided you this in your report, is what the average is. And so we can see in this case, right, that while there are some students that are clearly scoring strong band 6 results here, which indicates that it is definitely possible at your school, right, to score, in this case, a 90% plus result, it does definitely show here, though, that, at the end of the day, the average is much lower. And so this 79, while not a band 5 or 6, which is what you might be aiming for, it's well above the average. So it does highlight a lot of really positives here in terms of strengths. Now, does this give us the whole picture? Well, there's a couple of extra things we can go to because we don't really know what the average mark here is. It's not clear what the scale is. We're sort of taking a guess. Maybe it's 70, maybe it's 65. We're not really sure. So it's hard to know that, firstly. Secondly, it's also hard to know really what does a top 20 rank actually mean, right? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What rank would you actually need to achieve to score the results that you're wanting to achieve? And we can work all of these things out, which will then give you a much greater clarity of what your actual performance looks like and what you need to do for year 12. So, firstly, really fantastic website, hscscalinggraphs.au. Not every school is available here because a lot of schools, for example, like private schools, don't make this data available. But one of the things you can go to is to check, is your school available? So let's say for a moment that, let's pretend that you go to Chatswood High School. It's a large public school, right? Large cohort across, the school. We can go here and check. And let's say in English Advanced, okay, right, we can see the school average mark when it comes to the, HSC, right, is 84.7%. So that's the average mark, right, and it's well above, the state average of 81.2 for English Advanced. So firstly, right, if we sort of look back, this is not clearly the average here, but it gives you a way to go, okay, great, what's my mark that I've actually got here? And then what is, in the HSC year 12, what is the average mark the cohort gets? And where am I right now? Because that will also give you a good way as you start getting your year 12 results coming through for each of your assessments to remember, okay, great, what is the average for my school? Because your school often won't give you the averages for each of your individual assessments. So you've got this data point that you can use to go, great, like actually I'm above average here, or I got a 75 and the average at my school is that 84, like I'm below, like I'm gonna have to do work to try to lift this. So that's the first place we can go to, and it just gives us a little bit more context to understand what you might need to do at your school as you go into year 12, looking at your year 11 results. Now, the other place to go to is HSC Ninja provide a fantastic ATAR calculator. Now, the reason I really recommend this is because the actual valuable piece of information here is not so much the ATAR calculation, but the fact that it shows you the number of students, right, at your school that scored a band 6 result in the prior 8 years of data. Okay, so we can see here, I've just put in English Advanced because that's what we're looking at in our example here. Okay. And I can see the number of students at Chatswood High that have scored a band 6. So if we pretend for a moment that this report is for a student at Chatswood High, okay, and the rank is 20th and the mark is 79, I can see here that on average, right, if I look at all of the last, 8 years of data, I would say on average maybe about 9 students score a band 6 result. So a 90% and above, right? So if I come back here, what this tells me is that, okay, given the rank of this student is 20th, they're currently not going to be on their band 6 goal for English Advanced at their school, right? To do so, they would need to get their rank into the top 10 to be comfortable to ensure that they would score a band 6. Now, note, it might be enough to move that mark from 79 to 85, right? And their rank goes from 20th to 9th. Note, what that then tells you is you don't need to necessarily get an internal mark of that band 6 goal, right? Because your school might mark very, very hard, and that can sometimes be the case. They can mark very, very difficultly, and so you feel like you're not doing very well. But if your rank, therefore, okay, is within the number here that on average over the last 8 years has scored a band 6 in that subject at your school, it means that you would be highly likely, if you were in that rank at your school, regardless of whatever your mark is, to moderate up into a band 6 result. So this means a couple of things. Number one, for each of your subjects that you're looking at in your report, if, for example, your rank, like your mark could be fantastic. You could have got a 90 and you think, great, I'm killing it, right? But maybe you got a 90, okay, but you were ranked actually 15th or 20th, right? If that's the case, it shows that that mark would probably moderate down, right, as opposed to up, unfortunately. And so in the HSC, you wouldn't be getting a 90, you'd be getting a band 5 somewhere in the 80s. And so it also will enable you to see, yes, for your particular school, right, what you will actually need to do, because your reports can be, unfortunately, quite misleading either way. They can mislead you to think you're doing way better than you are, because your mark is great, but your rank's actually not that great, and when you look at the rank data, you'll actually moderate down. Or the opposite, you could be thinking that you're doing not very well, okay, but actually your rank indicates that you were doing actually much better than you thought, and it may moderate up significantly in terms of the mark. So in this case here, right, this 79 indicates that a rank of 20, if we use this example here for Chatswood High, if 9 to 10 students roughly get a band 6 every year at Chatswood High in English Advanced, what that shows is this mark here probably is actually a high band 5. So a 79 might actually be an 88, right, in terms of the moderation, because you would assume that there would be a big cohort of 128. There's probably at least 10 to 20 students, right, that are getting a band 5 result as well. And so you can see that this result is not a true representation of maybe where you're actually going to be at for your HSC. So there we have it. It's a couple of ways and a couple of places, in terms of like freely accessible sites that you can go to get some data to make sense of your end of year 11 reports, and hopefully to give you greater clarity for what you need to do in year 12. Either I've got to work harder because my school results right now are like overinflated. I'm not actually doing as well as I think because very few students at my school get a band 6, and I'm out of that rank. Or the opposite, hey, actually, I shouldn't stress too much here. My results are not as bad as I thought, and I've got to just keep doing what I'm doing with maybe a little bit more work to be put in, because I'm actually on the right track. If you have any questions about this, drop it in the comments below. If you'd like more support in both understanding your Year 11 report and what it means in terms of the strategy and the game plan that you should put in place for your subjects for Year 12 in terms of what subjects to focus on, what marks you might need to achieve in your specific school, and then what support you might need from a tutoring perspective to support those goals, feel free to get in touch with the team at ArtistSmart. We've got an incredible team of teachers, tutors, and mentors with over a decade of experience supporting thousands of students navigate this journey. And so we can certainly help you, put your best foot forward for Year 12 to maximise your options for life after school. I will see you in our next update.